Life is difficult and then you die. I mean, honestly, we're born screaming, not laughing. And what's one of the first things that happens when we get here? At least if you're born in America? Well, you get a slap across the bottom. Life is a test of our agility in making choices between right and wrong, now versus later, love versus fear. I'm not here to imply that life isn't full of sparkly things, because I am, as I've said before, the eternal optimist. In January, many people write their goals for the year, or they watch endless videos about the predictions for the year. Predictions that stir our hope or fear, ignorant of the choices that are going to face us in the coming year. Saturn in your chart is about both progress and fear. It wants foundations. It has 2 love languages that I'm going to share with you to let you know when you're headed in the right direction or when you need to do something else. I usually call that, in my eternally optimistic way, an invitation. Saturn wants to reveal the cracks in the vessel of your choices because it really wants you to live a life of integrity. My personal experience? I've been writing a novel series for a while. In 2017, I submitted the novel for its second edit. And in that time, after that, I had this chance conversation with someone who wanted me to start a YouTube channel, who felt very strongly about that. But I didn't do that. I focused on other things until I got more invitations. This was Saturn talking to me. And I got more invitations. Still, I worked on my other thing. Another person came into my life and said again, you really need to start this YouTube channel, and here's why. But I didn't want to do it. But I started investigating, and I went through all the people who knew how to do it, listening to all their advice, put together, because I've got a background in corporate, right? Put together a lot of slide presentations and things like that. And I started this journey with lots of convenient distractions along the way because I really wanted to avoid it. But Saturn kept coming to me, kept talking to me. And so, again, after we moved, which I'll continue that story because it has merit. It is both tragic and exciting and has so many sparkly moments in it. But in this process of learning how to do this, I have spent hours editing myself, and that is not a pleasant thing to do. And Saturn and I have had our arguments about this. But still, I continue. And this year, I'm focusing on YouTube. I'm not focusing on the novel series. But after editing these first 2, the hours that I have spent looking at myself, I'm dropping the more corporate Melissa to the extent that I can. I mean, I am who I am, right? I have my rules. But I'm going to go a little bit more rogue on this. I am going to continue the story of the move, again, because it has merit. And I'm also going to continue talking about the rules, because it's something I'm working through, a worldview that I have about these rules as I work as an astrologer, and also as I just observe people in life and as I help them through their charts. These rules just keep surfacing, and it's an easy way to remember your chart and what the ask is in your purpose in life. You can boil it down to 6 things that are really hard and 3 things that are trying to help you, right? What could be easier? So, welcome to this video. 2 rules we're talking about that I have is life is difficult and then you die, and look at all the sparkly things. I want some too. Welcome to 2026. I promise we're going to record in other places outside of my office the story of how we found the house that we're in, and I'm going to do a house tour. That story is just miraculous. It is sparkly and all that good stuff that makes for an exuberantly joyful life. So that's to come. But right now, just a quick recap. My husband and I had lived in this one place for 25 years. We had made updates to our house. We were thinking about staying because of other things that were happening in our life. It wasn't the right time to move. We needed a catalyst, so said the universe, and that catalyst came on November 6th of 2024. Now, in January of last year, we had a place to go, but we didn't have a house, and we had to get our house on the market in January so we could get up here by March. But the cracks in our decision were already starting to show. Life is difficult, and then you die. Managing those oppositions, they just kept coming up. We were pulled in multiple directions. Some we could never have anticipated, and some we could never have conceived. See, there's what you want in life, like to move. And then there's what life wants you to get out of that experience that it's giving you. That's Saturn. Goals and obstacles. Again, I'm oversimplifying here, but astrology doesn't need to be difficult. That's the coming series that I'm going to be doing. Just need to simplify astrology because it's such a helpful language. So on the topic of Saturn, Saturn is both what you want to control and what you're anxious about. Now, if you have Saturn in an air sign, say Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, what you want to control is information. What you are anxious about is connection, forming bonds with that information, finding that information alienates you, finding out that information is wrong. You get anxious about that kind of stuff. If you have Saturn in a fire sign like Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, in a very simplified way, what you want to control is your self-expression. What you get anxious about is being humiliated because of what you are saying and how you are expressing yourself, whether your ideas, your emotions, your feelings, things like that. If you have Saturn in an earth sign, like Taurus, like Virgo, and like Capricorn, you want to control security, those things that give you security. It doesn't mean you're materialistic, right? But what you get anxious about is loss of those things that bring you security. I can say, as a Saturn in air sign, that does not affect me as much in my decisions. I'm okay to let go of those things. I look at it in a different way. If you have Saturn in a water sign, like Cancer, or Scorpio or Pisces, what you want to control are those things that bring you emotional security. That can be money, that can be belongings, that can be relationships, that can be family, those kind of things. What makes you anxious if you are a water sign Saturn, again, I'm way oversimplifying here, but in general, those situations that overwhelm you, those unforeseen forces, that kind of stuff gets you really anxious. So Saturn has two tools in general that it uses to let us know when we're struggling with something that has to do with the integrity of our life, because Saturn is that planet in your chart that wants you to have integrity. Hi, Athena. This is Athena. She's the orange kitty. I don't know if you can see her. Saturn is the thing in your chart that wants to help you create a life of integrity. It wants you to follow the rules that matter to you, that are important to you to build a life that meets your purpose. Okay? Again, very general. And we're just talking one planet here. They all work together. But Saturn talks in two languages. It's either time or money. One of those things is going to be the earthly tool that Saturn uses to let you know that you are stuck, or that you are feeling anxious, or that you are needing to be mindful of your worldview and how it's getting in your way. Using time and money, Saturn does a lot of planning or procrastinating to control the unexpected in your life. It's something to be mindful of in this next week. Which are you more sensitive to, time or money? That's usually Saturn talking to you. In January of last year, I had a calendar of all the YouTube videos I was going to do, and I somehow thought that I was going to be able to do all this and pack, purge, and post in January. Now, we had done some work on the house, and we had just finished some home improvement projects, but we had a long, long list of things that still needed to be done. Now, my husband, fresh off of the heart attack scare in December, which we talked about in the last video, was super anxious about the amount of money that it would cost to get these things done. I was concerned about the time because we only had until like January 15th because we wanted to get the pictures of the house taken. And I was trying to get it staged. And on a daily basis, at the beginning of January, I'm trying to record. I'm learning OBS. I don't know if anyone else has heard of OBS, but it's this thing that allows you to do recordings. So I could do my presentations. Again, I have a background in corporate, so I'm just more comfortable with presentations. But I'm going to change that in these future videos, okay? I won't get as heavy into that stuff because it's frankly kind of boring. Anyway, I was doing all this stuff, trying to learn OBS. Oh my God, the tears, because I am not a techie. And I'm trying to get these videos posted, and I'm packing and all this stuff in between. So anyway, my husband's very concerned about the money. So I divide the list up, and I'm like, okay, here's the stuff that doesn't need money, here's the stuff that does need money. Let's see what we can get through that doesn't need money. So we decided we were going to do the laundry room. I was going to give it a fresh coat of paint, and we were going to refurnish the butcher block countertops that we had just put in like a couple years ago. So we started on that. But at the same time, I am taking breaks to go look at the market and the place that we're moving, right? I'm Google mapping up and down the street to give a list to our real estate agents who were very able to do this, but I didn't think that they really got what we were looking for. So I was Google mapping up and down the streets, pinging houses that I would be interested in looking at, even if they were not on the market. So I was spending a lot of time doing that, right? I mean, I'm keeping my mind really busy so I don't focus on the YouTube stuff, which I know I'm supposed to be doing. I've been 2 or 3 years into this. Anyway. So I'm creating all these problems, right? And I'm like, okay, we have to do the spindles up the stairs. We wanted to replace the wood floors. We're not going to be able to do that. There were other things we needed to do, patch, paint, all that stuff. So I'm doing all that stuff. In the midst of this, I'm also thinking about my mom, who's over there trying to pack up the house, and she's actually trying to sell the house on her own, which I don't want her to do because I have a certain timing of things that needs to be done. We have to have a place to live. That would suit us if we didn't find anything up where we are now. Spoiler alert, we moved. But in the middle of all this, my youngest daughter and her boyfriend at the time, a rough patch for her, and she's kind of going through this existential crisis post-graduating of what do I want in life. And I think I had felt it coming since June. I think she knew it too. It was just time for a break with this particular person. Beautiful soul he is, but just time for a break. And so I'm talking to her every night. I stop packing and all that stuff, and I take her out to coffee shops, and we just go talk, and we dream. We start dreaming about the future and what we want to do, going to Europe and the jobs that she can have, and this beautiful job that she has in that state where she will continue living as we move on. And talking about, the apartments that she can find or can't find, and roommates and things like that. We try to focus on what she can do, not ignoring the sorrow and ending that piece of her life. But, these curveballs were coming at us. And in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about time. My husband's always thinking about money. He's in his 70s, right? And he's thinking we can do all these things on our own. He can make all the improvements to the backyard that we had on his own as soon as, we're in the middle of January. Now, it's not really, really cold where we once lived, but it's not warm either. So we had a lot of those things hitting us. And what did I do in the midst of all those changes? I decided that I was going to refinish all the spindles, over 70 of them in this house, because I had made a mistake. I don't know if any of you have ever used chalk paint, but I had done chalk paint on the spindles in our many 25 years there at one point. And then I mistakenly put latex over it, and it was peeling away. That bothered me. I could not sell our house knowing that it had that defect. Wait till you hear. A few videos down, I'll share with you what happened with the spindles. But anyway, it's a mess having to strip these things, and I am in this all by myself. And no one else is helping me. My husband's focused on the outside. Even though he's seeing me struggle, he's like, you got yourself into that. I got things I got to get done too for the house. And I didn't think the outside was that important, but he did. And so I honor what he feels is important, as he does mine, but he's not going to stop and help me with 70 spindles. That kind of detail is not his thing. Now, would you have done all that stuff? Would you have, in the chaos of moving, purging, and posting and all that stuff, a daughter who's going through a really difficult time, trying to post YouTube videos and learn the darn software to do it and all that stuff, create the visuals and all those things? Would you have taken on 70 spindles? I suspect not. This is my own kind of crazy that Saturn uses to teach me where I need to change my worldview, where I need to recognize that I have some obsolete rules that are living in my unconscious that need to come to my conscious so I can purge them. Life is difficult and then you die. I was making life far more difficult to bring about the themes of what that rule means to me. I didn't need to do all those things. Saturn uses these two tools, time and money. I mean, they really have no value in this world, right? Time, we won't get into Einstein and all that, but time really doesn't exist. It's just a human measurement that we put on it, right? Same with money. Money, that paper, those coins, have no value except for the value that we attach to it. But Saturn wants us to grow this life of integrity to our purpose. And it was trying to lead me in my focus on time and all the stress I was putting on myself to really emphasize that by starting to refinish 70 spindles and all the other little things I was doing that didn't really matter in the end in getting the house prepped for the pictures. It was doing that to ask me, to prompt me to think about the choices I was making. But my mind was so busy. I have Saturn in an air sign. My Saturn is focused on time. I mean, I care about money, right? But it doesn't carry the same weight of anxiety that it does for my husband. And, I mean, come on, honestly, picking up and making a move on our own, it's privileged, and I recognize that privilege, and not everyone has that. But we all face these struggles in life. We're all being asked to become our most authentic self, to be true to our purpose. I'm sure my behaviors to you look absolutely nuts. And in retrospect, they look really nuts to me as well. To try to complete an unrealistic amount of tasks that in the end didn't matter. But I have a problem in my chart with having a busy mind and in using my mind to keep me from doing the important things, like starting this YouTube channel. But on the other hand, it did help me keep focused on my daughter. And I never questioned time when I was spending time with my youngest daughter, talking to her, helping her, recreating a life out of what she thought was going in one direction and putting it into another. That time flew by. I never thought about all the things that I had to get done. That was Saturn telling me I was focusing on the right things. That rule that I have, look at all the sparkly things, I want some too. I mean, it has light and it has shade. In its shade, it was the endless distractions in my very manic state of all the little sparkly things that had to be attended to, right? All those distractions. Life is difficult and then you die was disguised by that busy mind. In my unconscious, I come here with a feeling of abandonment. My childhood was fine. I was never abandoned, but there's no logical reason as to why I would be so sensitive to being abandoned. But while I was doing the stair spindles, while I'm trying to figure out OBS, I'm having to go through YouTube videos, I'm like streaming tears because I feel abandoned in packing and purging and reorganizing the boxes in the house so it looks really good when it's staged and all that. Finishing up on all these tasks by myself. I mean, I was putting myself in that mental space of feeling abandonment and the consequences of not asking for help or the consequences of just overloading myself so I felt abandoned. Starting the stair spindles, right? It's just me with stripper on those spindles, wrapping it in, what was it, like cellophane wrap and stuff like that, and stripping it off. Oh my God. It was chaos, but that was me working through that feeling of abandonment. It was triggered again so I could make progress, so I could recognize it as a feeling of abandonment and consciously do the work. So the end of January comes. Oh, there's Athena. Hold on a second. Can you see Athena? Hey, Athena. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi? No, I'm going to jump down. Okay, so the end of January comes. And my husband helped for a couple of days with the spindles, but both my daughters got in and helped me finish that, and I got them painted. We got pictures of the house taken. I swear to God, when we got them back, it looked like they had changed the lighting in it. It was so white. I mean, our light cabinets in our kitchen almost looked clear. Anyway, the pictures were done. I had posted maybe one video. I'd have to go back and look. I think I even changed my office location because I had to get upstairs to an empty room because I couldn't focus downstairs in the dining room where my office used to be. Again, a useless thing to do, right? To move my office from the dining room upstairs, but I did it. We still had no house to move to. My daughter created some plans, and although she was still having a difficult time with the breakup, because they had been together for a year, and it was just a difficult time, right? But we had formed some plans together, and she had done so on her own. She was going to rent an apartment and find some roommates and stay there until it was time for her next step. She's applying to PhD programs, so that's kind of her life's journey. Every decision that we make in creating the story of our life opens the door to choices that we never could have conceived or anticipated. And they're not all difficult, and many are sparkly. These are little invitations from the universe to become our best, most confident self. By overcoming adversity and tragedy and finding insights about the truth of the power that we hold within, they test the direction that we choose, an option to recalibrate, to feel the fear and do it anyway. Okay, life is difficult and then you die, right? But life is full of sparkly moments, miracle moments, things that you never could have anticipated. And we can be open to them by just looking at the choices that we make and how we think and how we conceive and how we feel, to be aware of predisposed rules that we might have that limit the opportunities that we can see.